What up guys, Super Metal 983 here bringing us another CD review, and this time I've got a very solid EP for you to check out. If you're into progressive or technical death metal, then this is definitely for you. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be reviewing for you today. Yeah, this is the new EP from the band Nexilva entitled Asiety 1. This is self-release. Now, if you've been following my channel for the past 7 or 8 years, let's say, then you'll know that I am a big time follower, friend and fan of Nexilva for many years. Ever since I was in school with these guys and saw them develop from their early days into the beast that they are today. They have gone through so much changes over the years, and it is an honour to know these guys and seeing them through their musical career. It's absolutely outstanding to see. But obviously the band has gone through various lineup changes and various styles over the years, with their debut album and their first EP being more of a straight up deathcore sort of sound to it, but still had that technical aspect to it, and then evolving their sound for their second album, which came out in 2014, which was called Eschatologies. Now, if you know from my 2014 top albums, if you've been subscribed that long, this was up there in the top, I believe it was the top 3 of that year, and quite rightly so, because this is an absolutely outstanding album. Not only just because it's a local release and I like to support the local scene, obviously, but I feel strongly that this had a lot going for it when it came out in 2014. It obviously had the technical death metal and the technical deathcore, whichever you want to pigeonhole it as, elements in there, but it started to adapt a more progressive side, but still had elements going for it, from symphonic parts to even straight up death metal parts, and even some in the mix of there, some black and death metal sort of esque parts in there, which I felt was really unique, and all that combinating into one release, I feel definitely showed how strong these guys are as songwriters. But not only that, they wrote an outstanding album. So if you want to hear more, definitely check out my CD review I done back in 2014, and obviously the album stream, which I'll leave links down below so you can check it out. But yeah, outstanding album. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do. But obviously it's been 4 years since that album came out, and the band's gone through various lineup changes in the past 4 years, and there and behold, we get to 2018 with the new lineup, and most importantly, we have a new EP, Asiety 1. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be releasing Asiety number 2 next year, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but make sure you follow them on Facebook for more updates and so on and so forth. But this is obviously, as I said, the band's first release with a new lineup, and you've got Dylan, who's now on vocals. You got the addition of a new guitarist, Chris, who's obviously involved in Osiris, and obviously you've now got Steve Padley on drums, which is the new lineup, along with Simon, Connor and Ryan, obviously still in the band, both doing guitars and bass, obviously. But anyway, but this is obviously the first band's release in 4 years, so there was a lot of anticipation and hype about this release leading up to it. I mean, the first single they released, which was the second track on this EP, Decades, I was out and about when that dropped out of the blue, and I was pretty excited, so I stuck me, put on my Spotify and listened to it on the metro back about, probably about 5 or 6 times, and I was just in awe listening to it. I loved it. It really did feel fresh, and it felt, honestly, like the evolution of Nexilva had grew all that more and evolved into a new beast, you could say, really, and it really got us all that more excited for this EP. And obviously when this EP dropped, obviously this was a couple of months ago, I wasn't in a very good place to review it. I just wasn't, in the right mindset, but needless to say, I have been listening to this a lot over the past couple of months, and I've been combinating to get my thoughts on there. And as I said, this feels fresh and like the next evolutionary step for Nexilva and their sound. Obviously, they've still got the combinating elements that I loved about Eschatologies. Definitely taken the blistering elements of the likes of Fleshgod Apocalypse, maybe even old Faceless, for example, but then combining with some more progressive elements and more melodic elements definitely in there, I feel. And it really does, like, as I said, feel like the evolution, but it feels a lot like a more eased back, more mature sound than they had on Eschatologies. Like, I love Eschatologies for what it is. It's absolutely outstanding. But I feel like this release is definitely a little bit combat and a bit more mature vibe. But that is definitely not a downside at all. That is definitely an upside, because it shows that the band is growing with their sound and becoming a much more of a stronger force as time goes on, basically. And this EP definitely, you know, is the staple of their efforts, you could say. And quite frankly, it delivers on all fronts, from the first track, Redeemed, which for the past 4 years we've been wanting a new Nexilva. They've definitely redeemed themselves with this release. Probably no pun intended, but you know how it is. So that song, excellent song, and that is, I might as well add, it's the first song where we get a new element in Nexilva, which is something that I knew was coming, I think everyone knew was coming, but it delivered on all fronts, and that is the addition of clean vocals. And I believe it's Connor Jobs who does the clean vocals on this new EP release, and they are outstandingly well executed. They are executed with passion, and it's soaring to hear. They're definitely not what I expected, but they definitely add an overall element to them that kind of puts me in mind, in some elements, of Periphery in some elements. But I definitely feel like it gives it that much more of a unique release. I mean, it definitely echoes in vein of the Faceless, but it definitely doesn't... It echoes in the vein of the Faceless, but it's not the same sort of ballpark. It's a completely different ballpark, because Nexilva are definitely a unique unit in not only the UK metal circuit, but I feel in general with the worldwide metal scene in general. I think they definitely have a unique sound for them, and that is not a very that isn't the only way I could say it is not a very easy thing to say, because a lot of the bands definitely just follow suit with other bands. They don't make a unique X factor to them, whereas I feel Nexilva, especially on this EP, definitely offers that, from the progressive elements to the technical elements. But the adding the clean vocals was definitely the next mature evolutionary step that Nexilva could have done, and it executes perfectly, if you ask me. Obviously the riffs are very, very technical, but they're still very melodic and very progressive, but they boggle the mind, in all honesty. Like, the whole progression that's on these tracks, excuse me, definitely keep your attention. There's a lot of attention to detail in the riffs, but they definitely echo a lot more with the symphonics, like they did on Eschatologies, but they're not overbearing as they were a little bit on Eschatologies. Like, obviously that isn't, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing in any way, but I definitely feel like it is a very stronger element, and they are executed a little bit more finer, but definitely executed with perfection, if you ask me. Ryan's bass work, I might as well add, is absolutely outstanding on this release. His tone is definitely a lot better on this release. It's not as it's still a little bit clanky, but I definitely feel like it's a lot more well thought out tone. It's a little bit more crisper, but it still gives it that little bit of chunk that you need to keep the heaviness, but it still sounds modern, and that's what I really enjoy about the bass tone on this. So props to Ryan for an excellent job. Obviously Chris and Simon and Connor do excellent work on the guitar departments. Like, as I said, just absolutely outstanding riffage on this album, and it definitely falls in line, as I said, in a technical, progressive, but still melodic sort of way, and it's outstanding to hear, if you ask me. Stephen, the drummer in Nexilva, he is an absolute animal on the drums, and this is his first release on in Nexilva, and if he can play the old stuff with perfection, he can play this stuff outstandingly, and quite frankly, he's done an absolutely outstanding job with the writing and the playing on this release. I mean, what more can I say? He's an outstanding drummer, and you just need to check out the new Nexilva if you want to hear some outstanding musicianship on this release. And obviously, a big addition to the band is the addition of Dylan on vocals. Now, obviously, Gaz King has moved on from Sorrow to Serenity, which obviously you know I did the single review for Golden Age, which make sure you check that out. But Dylan, I hadn't heard this guy before, so I was really intrigued to see what he can do and offer for Nexilva. And quite frankly, he is an absolutely outstanding vocalist, and the lyrics on this album are absolutely outstanding as well. But the vocals, they just have so much that it feels like they have a lot of animosity, and a lot of grit to them that just execute with a lot of emotion, and it feels so good to hear it, and it echoes the music perfectly. Like, it feels aggressive, but it's still passionate in everything that is done from the vocal delivery. It's absolutely outstanding. He has come into Nexilva, guns a-blazing, not let go, and delivered on all fronts on this EP. And at least to beg the question, what is going to be on part 2? What are we going to expect from Nexilva? Is it going to be another evolutionary step? I hope so, because I love to see bands evolve and stuff like that, especially Nexilva, as they have over the years. But this EP, if this is the sound that they're going to go from now on, then I am on board. No surprise there. But this is an absolutely outstanding release, and definitely one of my favourite EPs of 2018. So if you want something very unique, progressive, technical, and mind-boggling, then this is definitely for you. I definitely say if you're a fan of obviously the Faceless, Born of Osiris, Fallujah, Fleshgod Apocalypse, you'll find something you like about those. If you're a fan of any of those bands, definitely give this a shout. It's outstanding. For an overall score though, I'm going to give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. The only reason I give it an 8.5 is because I want more. So give me more, guys. So yeah, make sure you check out the new EP from Nexilva entitled Asiety No. 1. Part 2 will come next year, I believe. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, links to where you can hear this EP in full, and also to their Facebook, Twitter, and all that social jazz. So yeah, I'll see you until the next video. And remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.